Call to order the Kingston Springs Beer Board meeting for April 21st. John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark.
Here.
Tony Gross.
Here.
Mike Hargis.
Here.
Glenn Remick.
Here.
Bob Stoll.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Do I have a motion to approve the January 20th, 2022 Beer Board meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the April 21st, 2022 Beer Board meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item A is a motion to approve special event beer permit request by Habitat for Humanity of Greater Nashville for an event at the Golf Club of Tennessee, 1000 Golf Club Drive, Kingston Springs, Tennessee.
The Habitat for Humanity is having a fundraising event at the Golf Club of Tennessee. I believe this is the third year that they've done this. It's May 23rd, and they're requesting a special event beer permit for that event.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Call to order the, get through all my pages here. The public hearing for April 21st, 2022. Item is open to public comments prior to second reading of ordinance 22-004, amending ordinance 21-006 of the 2021-2022 budget. Is there anyone here to speak about that? I don't think you're here to speak about that. All right, I don't believe there is, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oops, there was a second. I needed a second, I guess. Yeah, second. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. All right, we'll call to order the Kingston Springs Board of Commission meeting. Could everyone please rise and face the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark.
Here.
Tony Gross.
Here.
Mike Hargis. Here. Glenn Remick.
Here.
Bob Stoll.
Here.
We have a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve the March 17th, 2022 City Commission meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to approve the March 31st, 2022 special called City Commission meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the April 21st, 2022 City Commission meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We'll start with announcements from commissioners. Commissioner Clark?
I'd like to acknowledge Roger Parker's birthday today.
No announcements.
Good.
I was just going to really quickly thank all of my fellow commissioners here for a really great retreat. I think that was really productive, and I think we got on the same page on a lot of things and kind of have a vision to move forward with some exciting things this coming year. So thank you all for participating in that weekend. I know those are kind of long meetings, but I think they're pretty necessary to really proceed as a commission throughout the year. So thank you for that. And thank you to the staff for putting up with hanging out with us all weekend as well. That was great. All right, move on then to community input and concerns. And it looks like we have one community input and concern from Mr. Jerry Utes. So you're welcome to come up and address the commission. My former neighbor.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I am here because originally I used to be a property owner and pay taxes in Kingston Springs for over 20 years. I had a house on Maple Street. Tony tried to buy it, but it was too expensive for him. And I was partly responsible for making Maple Street a one-way street and getting a stop sign on the corner of Maple Street and Cemetery Road, which everybody runs through anyway, but that's who I am. My neighbor Gwen, before she gets started, I'm not responsible for anything that Gwen's gonna say or do because she's
Yes?
a little different than my problem is. I now live on Hillcrest Road, 218 Hillcrest Road. It's a very dangerous street. I ride a bicycle, and I would never ever ride a bicycle on Hillcrest Road. For those of you, I know you all know, especially Chief Ivy knows where Hillcrest Road is, but when you go up the street, turn right going that way, up Hillcrest, and you bear left, and eventually you'll go down a little hill and turn right. I live right on the corner. It's in addresses that are affected by this on that hill are like 206, 208, 212, 218 Hillcrest Road. The problem we have is that sort of a problem we had on, I think it's Park Street or Park Place when people were speeding coming out of the park and going up the hill. I've lived there for 7 years now on Hillcrest Road, and I'm amazed and mystified that we've never had a head-on collision around that corner, or kids playing the street, they ride their tricycles, and nobody has ever been run over. So that's very fortunate. So I'm here tonight to recommend that we look into the placing of speed ramps or speed bumps like we had on Park Place. Gwen doesn't like the little ones, but I enjoy those.
No, I like the little ones.
She likes the little ones, and I like the big ones that we originally had. But it's a real dangerous situation. Nobody goes a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, but probably me. But it's a real. I know that the police cannot control all areas of Kingston Springs at the same time, but I think it's a real problem. And there are a lot of kids that play on that street and ride their bikes and trikes. So if you could take a look at doing something like that. They originally had a few weeks ago, you guys had a speed thing out there that told you how fast you were going. But a lot of people wanted to go faster just to see how accurate it was. So there were people coming around that corner that were really flying. But it is a real dangerous situation. I will add that if any officer wants to park in my driveway to run radar coming around that corner, I have no problem. But I appreciate y'all looking into that before something terrible happens. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
And keep on running.
All right. With those on. Come on up, Glenn. We have a new procedure now that requires filling out this form, but I forget
really?
to tell
Jerry,
everyone anyway. So
did you fill out the form?
He did. I have Jerry's officially filled out form right here.
Should I fill out the form?
No, just
I'm more than happy to fill out any form, mostly.
we're still learning. So.
Okay, so I got this piece of paper in the mail today. It's about my weedy lawn.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I am Gwendolyn Blanton. I live at 218 Hillcrest Road, number 102, Kingston Springs, Tennessee, 37082. And I would like to talk about the fact that there are at least 4 species of bumblebees that have gone extinct, 4 native species of North American bumblebees that have gone extinct in North America. And I got this letter that says that weeds and overgrown lots are not acceptable. So I just want to talk about the fact that native bumblebees, moths, butterflies, and insects that have been living in North America for hundreds of thousands of years cannot live on a mowed lawn. A mowed lawn is a dead zone. So when you mow your lawn, you have mowed down all of the native species that would normally be living here in Kingston Springs, Tennessee. And grass does great. Dandelions, yeah, they do okay too. There's sometimes some violets, they're native. But normally, when you mow your lawn, you've pretty much mowed down all of the native plants that insects depend on, especially native bees. Honeybees aren't native, but if you're supporting honeybees, you're also supporting native bees, so I'm okay with that. And so I would just like to talk about the fact that you are having on Saturday, April 23rd, which is the day that we normally support Earth Day and have an Earth Day celebration, you're gonna have a celebration of codes and talk about all the things that we shouldn't be doing. And talking about weeds and overgrown lots and property owners being responsible for mowing their lawns, when actually what we should be talking about is letting our lawns grow, shrinking the lawn, planting native species, and getting more native plants to grow, because the more you mow your lawn, the less you are providing a habitat for native bees, bumblebees. 4 species of Native American bumblebees have already gone extinct. And the bumblebee that we already think of it, like the bumblebee, oh, so cute, and they're fuzzy, and they almost never sting, they're extinct. But if we keep our lawns a little bit longer and we let them grow taller, you're more likely to support bumblebees and other insects. So I asked my landlord to please not mow our lawn, because we're gonna have an Easter egg hunt, and he said that's fine. And then I get this letter in the mail that says he's gonna be responsible for me asking him not to mow the lawn because I have tons of flea bane. I've got just thousands of violets, which are native, and I don't want him to get in trouble for me asking him not to mow the lawn, because we have tall grass, and really it's only about that tall. Okay, maybe somewhere around that tall, but I would like to see if there's a way that Kingston Springs, town of Kingston Springs, could possibly come to an agreement that a tall lawn is not bad. A tall lawn full of dandelions and plantain and fleabane and tall purple ironweed. These are good things. These are things that support the plant and life cycle of insects. And I'm a little worried that I'm going to get in trouble, and that also my landlord's going to get in trouble, and that he's going to call me and say, I'm going to let you deal with this because this is a codes issue, and I'm not going to get in trouble for your BS. So anyways, I would just like to request that a tall lawn not be a bad thing. So I know you're having a thing on Saturday to talk about codes violations, and I feel like a tall lawn is not a code violation. A tall lawn is us bringing the insects in and inviting them. And if any of you, which you might not be old enough, but when I was a little kid and we were driving down the road, there was like 1 billion insects on our windshield. And you wipe the windshield wipers and you'd be like, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Mr. Remick knows what I'm talking about. Like, I have driven to Nashville 1,000 times in the last 2 years, and there's no insects. There are no insects because they are going extinct. And we are in the middle of a global insect extinction crisis. And what insects need is native plants. And if all we do is mow the lawn, insects cannot thrive. They cannot survive. So please do not make a big deal about weeds and overgrown lawns. We need our insects. We need our overgrown lawns. My landlord, Mr. Northcutt, has very graciously offered to let me interact with our lawnmower man. And he lets me communicate with the mower man and say, please don't mow, or do mow, or don't mow, because we're gonna have an Easter egg hunt. And I'm concerned that Kingston Springs is setting an example of a short lawn is the only good lawn. But we need to have long lawns. Longer grass is more resilient, it's more sustainable. Longer grass lets the rain soak into the ground and replenish the aquifers. And so I would just like to say, please do not make a big deal about lawns and overgrown weeds on private property. And I will tell him to mow the lawn eventually, but I'm not quite ready. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I believe that's it for community.
I have a couple of comments,
Oh,
if
really?
I may, but they're very short. First of all, I wanted to tell Mike Argus that I've been a State Farm advocate for over 50 years. I mean, I've been a State Farm user for almost as old as the company is. And to comment on Gwen's statement, also, which she failed to mention, is that dandelions are good for making dandelion wine. And that is really good.
All right, we will move on now to department reports. John, do you have anything additional to add?
I do have one thing to add. We recently had a pre-paving meeting for Burns Park parking lot and trails, where we have a tentative date to start of May 9th. Might be a couple of days earlier, depending on the schedule of the asphalt plant and paving cycle. But right now, we're looking at Monday, May 9th. The park will be closed for the duration of the paving, because we'll have heavy equipment on the trails as well as in the parking lot. We'll let everybody know through social media, Facebook posts, website posts, as soon as we have a for sure date. But it looks like the park will probably be closed for 3 to 5 days while we pave, starting May 9th.
Very good.
And the restriping will occur after that for the other streets?
It'll probably be concurrent. I think my thought was initially that they would wait until the end when they come and stripe the lot. They'll have the striping crew out, and then they'll do all the other roads. But from what the paver said, they could probably do it kind of concurrently and have the whole crew out there. So it'll be done about the same time.
So it'll be like striping the roads and then paving and then stripe parking
Yes.
lot? Okay.
Yes,
Very good. That's it?
that's it.
Anything from legal? Okay, we can move on to unfinished business. Item A is second reading of ordinance 22-004, amending ordinance 21-002 for the 2021-2022 budget. Nothing's changed.
No, sir, there was a discussion at first reading of, we've updated the amounts as well as added the farmer's market $1,500 grant. So that was in there as comments from the first reading that is included in this ordinance that's in your packet.
All right, do we have, go ahead.
A question. On the $12,000 for the water leak, is that the water bill or was that the actual repair of the leak?
Water bill.
That was the water bill.
Mhm.
So has the repair been done?
It has been found.
Yeah, we found the leak.
So it has not been repaired yet?
It's not been repaired yet.
Okay, so that's just the water bill.
Yeah.
What is the status on that? I know you said it was soon.
Mr. Weaver came out and said that he thinks, he's almost positive that it's right there where it crosses under the road to go down to the lake, where it goes into the sprinkler room right there at the building. He can hear it. He hasn't found proof that that's where it is, because he tests the ground and the water sources to see if he can find chlorine or whatever. He left me a message Monday, I guess, and said he would be coming out and pinpointing that this week. I haven't seen him, but I usually don't see him when he comes.
Okay.
So.
This thing's still just running away? Or-
It's not, it's about a gallon every 3 or 4 hours or something,
Okay.
So
so.
it's
So it
not
would be
under
this
the
much?
slab then?
Yeah, the good news is it's.
It is not under
You don't
the,
think
he
it's under the
seems to
slab?
think it, he feels like it's right there where it crosses under the road, there at the road that goes down to the lake, where it pipes into the activity center to the sprinkler closet.
Well, the water bill's not good news, but it's good news it's not under the slab, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So he's out there this week. He told me he would absolutely have it found and a solution this week, so.
Okay. Sorry, I guess that's not,
John, just for clarification, you talked about the change, the one that was approved at the last meeting, did it contain those changes that y'all discussed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All
the
right.
motion contained those changes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
all right, do we have a motion to, for ordinance 22-004 on second reading?
One quick question. Is this the one that's a 12-year note, John, is that correct? Is that what I saw in the packet?
Yeah, this is, we're still on item A, that's item B.
It's item B, okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm on a different line. All right. Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve second reading.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any other further discussion? All right, Don, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Tony Gross.
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Bob Stoll.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item B is a motion to approve Resolution 22-004, authorizing the issuance of an interest-bearing public works project capital outlay note from the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund in the amount of $250,000 attributable to the town of Kingston Springs for the acquisition of property at 431 Park Street in Kingston Springs, Tennessee, at an interest rate of 2.849%, authorizing the mayor to execute the capital outlay note and other loan and closing documents. This is from
And just to recap, Mr. Mayor, the note is for $250,000 at 2.849% for 12 years with no penalty for early payoff should we choose to do
So
that.
why 12?
That is the minimum that we could go.
Max.
I'm sorry, the maximum that we could go.
That's the maximum you could go.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's no
Debt service
penalty.
is about 24 grand a year,
Yes.
right?
I don't have the amortization
Yeah.
table in front, but
That's
that's what it
what it
was.
said, yeah. All right.
And just like on the prior one that we did a few months ago, your actual resolution and note contemplate that the interest rate could go up to 3% just in case there's any fluctuation in interest between adoption and when it actually gets locked in.
Why is 12 the longest term?
Because it's just land. They're only financing for the land. They gave us the credit for the train depot station, but they will also allow us to refinance it if we decide to put any improvements on the property. If we get a better rate, we could put it into the bond if we get a better rate at the time, which is why we ask for the no penalties for prepayments.
Depot's on the land, right? So the land we're financing, correct? That we eventually hope to turn into kind of a storage center?
Yes.
Okay, so then that doesn't qualify for a longer period than 12?
If it was just land, it would be 7 years. But because they gave us the consideration for the depot
Okay.
station without it being much improved,
Right.
they
Okay.
gave us a maximum
I
of
understand.
12.
That's clear. Thank you, Kelly.
All right, very good. Do we have a motion for Resolution 22-004?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, comments? Tom, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Bob Stoll.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move on to new business. Item A is a motion to approve Resolution 22-005, amending Resolution 18-006, Kingston Springs policy on acceptance of gifts and other donations.
Resolution 22-005 and the next business item, Resolution 22-006, are somewhat related with this 22-005, slightly updating the language in item 5 to add the phrase, or to authorize the solicitation of gifts and donations by the town staff for specific needs of the town or in specific instances. The next resolution then allows staff to solicit or receive certain types of donations, and that resolution specifically, electronic donations for the Parks Department, monetary donations up to $100, and perishable goods donations up to $50. But the original resolution needed to be updated with this additional language before we could change
So
and
it's an exception.
add any other additional exceptions.
And, you know, we discussed, is there a reason, I mean, $100 is a kind of low number. Should we, I mean, is there a reason why it's so low?
No, that's just,
Just pull it out
Kind
there.
of standard.
I just feel like that's a,
That's what ours is.
What's that?
That's what ours is.
I mean, I don't know, I feel like, I mean, $100 is the new 20, right?
right, it's the will of the board, whatever dollar amount seems fit would be.
Well, any others outside of that parameter have to come before the board, be approved individually.
Yes, sir.
right? So I would recommend that we go higher than that, maybe 500, maybe 1,000. I mean, we're gonna say yes either way, it just makes a little sense
Yeah, we
to
make a,
have every nickel dime thing that comes across. If somebody wants to give us money, I say, let's let them give us money.
Did we not just accept the check for $350,000?
well, we voted to accept that.
We voted to
Yeah.
accept it.
So this would just
we can
remove
get
that, but like when we did the police dog fundraiser,
Right.
$100 wouldn't have solved that problem.
No. But this would be a situation where, and it happens from time to time, somebody will come in and say, we really appreciate what the volunteer fire department does. We'd like to write you a check for $100 to do what you will. So it would allow the town staff to accept this, whereas right now we have to say, our apologies, we cannot accept that at this time. The board will need to approve it, and we'll have to get back to you.
I'd lean towards at least $500, I'd say.
I'd be okay with 1,000.
1,000 seems,
I mean, why would we say no to a donation? I guess,
Yeah. I guess it depends on who the donation comes from.
yeah, well, maybe.
Possibly, there could be an instance where that happened, but, you know, and of course,
You contemplate that in the actual policy that you set forth, because that gives you wiggle room if it's, for example, y'all passed a resolution last fall stating that you were not in favor of the fuel depot in Dixon, and what if people who are running that comes in and drops a $999 check in here, and then y'all have accepted a donation from somebody that y'all have clearly in opposition to what they do, so.
I mean, I guess in that sense, it would just be their bad decision.
yeah, I don't see any reason why.
My
Just,
point.
I mean, it's up to you guys,
Yeah.
if y'all want to do
I
that.
wouldn't change
Obviously,
our
it's the will of the
opinion on
board,
that. Okay, well, if everybody's more comfortable with 500, I'm good with that. Just seems like that anything you cut down, that seems to be so trivial.
No. I could go either way. What's the will of the board?
500.
500.
500? Okay. Well, then somebody make a motion.
Well, wait.
We have to approve the first policy anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
first resolution.
Yeah, first resolution, actually, though, is just to change the language on our gift policy, our donation policy, resolution 22-005. So do we have a motion to change the language in section 5 of that?
Motion to change the language in section 5 of 22005
Second.
And approve that resolution 22.
and approve resolution 22005.
Second.
I have a question though. On the second whereas, it says amend provision 4, should it be provision 5? At the very top of the resolution itself, whereas the town of Kingston Springs Board of Commissioners has hereby desired to amend provision 4.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Right, I was looking at what 4 was.
That was it, because
When I was at home looking at it going, okay,
Yeah, you're
appropriate
right.
donations, what did we get offered?
the language, I think
The
Carolyn's
second
right,
one.
and the language is in
Provision 5.
provision 5.
Provision 5, yes, okay. Yeah, that was a typo on my part then. Thank you for catching that.
Good catch.
So we need to amend this, or we need to
Yes.
amend
So
the
it would be-
language to say, whereas in provision 5, not 4.
Yes.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you. So the motion would be to approve resolution 22-005 with the correction on the second whereas to read provision 5.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, on to resolution number 22-006, which is 13B. And this will be, well, do we have a motion to pass resolution 22-006? And if one would like to make that a motion with an amended dollar amount, this would be the time to do that.
I have a question on number 1. When we had talked about this at the retreat, the donation collection boxes, I really thought that was kind of tongue-in-cheek. I don't know if everyone's comfortable with that, about having a donation box at the park. I just think that's kind of, it just seems kind of like, more like begging.
Yeah.
To have something at the park to stick money in, I just.
I think this was with directions for electronic donation. If you
It says
wanted.
donation boxes.
No, I put in there physical, I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, it does say that.
What is on that, so.
That might be a good idea to strike that, just because those usually end up with garbage in them. So people don't usually put money in those, don't they?
Yes, and
At least my
it's all wants to
experience.
make an electronic donations, have a
Yeah.
QR code available.
From the experiences I've heard from anybody that's had to check those, that sometimes it's not pleasant, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would.
Parks don't do that anymore.
Yeah, so the motion then would include striking donation collection boxes or striking that language
And the dollar amount.
in the dollar amount, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion as such?
I make a motion that we amend it, strike donation collection boxes, and change the amount to $500.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed? All right. Hearing no one opposed, motion passes. Okay, on to item 13C, an ordinance by the town of Kingston Springs, Tennessee, amending ordinance 17-005, the hotel motel tax. And this is what we discussed under the new policy. We can increase our rate for hotel motel tax from 2.5% to 4%.
And that's, yeah, pretty much the synopsis. The law changed, and it's just rolling back the 2.5% levy and putting in a 4%. This is on the occupancy charge. And within the statute, obviously, they've got reporting requirements just like they did previously as well. So, pretty simple.
All right.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 22-005 and increase the tax to 4%.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Lynn Remick,
Yes.
Bob Stoll.
Yes.
All right. All right. Next item is motion to set the TCRS employer contribution rate certification for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The state minimum recommended amount is 11.28%, and then of course they always recommend that you do a higher rate as far as this. John, do you have anything else?
I believe Kelly's going to kind of give a little background on this.
The current rate is 7.29, and the minimum rate that they've come back with this year is 11.28. No matter what rate we have, it doesn't affect the benefit to the employees. This rate is calculated per municipality or per employer, and they basically invest this money in a pool, and then at the end of the fiscal year, they take and calculate each employer's liability. That liability amount has things figured into it, such as interest rate, current retirees that are drawing from that pool, age and years of service of current employees, and they calculate your liability risk and then tell you what your minimum contribution can be for that next year. It's obviously a significant increase.
Quite.
Employers can choose to pay down the liability amount, and We just have to have the minimum amount. So it's up to the board as to what we choose to adopt for this next fiscal year.
What's the will of the board, or does anyone have any questions for Kelly?
My first comment that doesn't have anything to do with that is that I want to know where they got the investment return of 25.6%. I want to invest in that. That was amazing. So Kelly, when you were talking about when I was trying to understand this, the normal cost, I was reading what normal cost was. So what is the reason our normal cost last year was 5.19 and this year it's 9 point something, 9.67?
Where are you looking at?
I'm sorry, on the
Employer
ADC
ADC
rate
rate.
sheet.
Rate components, normal cost.
Employer ADC rate?
So that is what they figure your base rate to be,
Okay.
based on, I think it's based on trend of the market at the time, and that's what they would figure everyone's to be. And then they figure in that unfunded accrued liability amortization. Now, some people get a decrease on that. We got the increase on it, and then the administrative costs. And I think it's different for everybody, but I can't really speak as to how they figure it per employer. And a lot of it has to do with your current liability pool, which is, your current retirees and how close you have to people that are getting ready to retire and things of that nature.
So Ashland City's normal cost is not going to be 5.19% or 11.28. Theirs might be 12.28 or something.
Could be less.
That'll be
Could be
different.
less.
It's different for every
Okay,
employer,
okay,
yes.
Thank you.
So I mean, I suppose because we have a pretty long-standing staff that's been here a long time, that may also be a factor in why our number is significantly higher.
With less employees.
Yeah.
So you have less employees in that pool and more longevity here as well. So that makes your liability number a little bit higher.
Thank you.
Well, it doesn't look like we have much of a choice here, do we?
We don't have much of a choice there. The only choice would be if we chose to, that's the minimum, if we chose to go beyond that.
What are the hard numbers for these percentages? What did we spend last year?
I'm not sure about that. I think it's,
That's a good question.
I think you have an actuarial right there that shows the value of your assets, then your expected contributions. So, I mean, you have some things that they've provided you with. As far as the amount that employees are drawing out now, they give us those numbers at the end of the fiscal year and provide it for the audit. They haven't provided that yet.
So, what was it last year? 5 point something?
7.2.
7 point something?
9.
How many dollars was that 7.2? Do we know?
I would have to look into that.
Well, you got to, like she's saying, it's going to be based on the number of employees. So if you have active employees of 15, and that's the numbers down, a total's 39, 39 minus 6 is 33. So you got 33 employees that are contributing. So what they've done is they've looked at your liability here and say, all right, you're short. Your contributions are going to be $332,000, and your costs are going to be $520,000. So your unfunded accrued liability is $164,000. So what that means, that's why it's jumping from 7 to 11. Now, if you hire more employees next year, this could look different. If you filled all your positions, they may already be filled. So.
Thanks, Mike. That was a good explanation.
Well, that's how they're getting there. And I for one would say we'd go with the minimum, 11.28. I certainly wouldn't want more than that.
Agreed.
And hope next year the numbers change some.
Go back down.
But it's a small pool and a small number, so you're gonna have variations in this one. If it was a state retirement fund with thousands of employees, you don't have much variation. But since they're doing it by employer, in these small groups, you lose the benefit of law of large numbers here.
They do invest it in the large pool, but then they take it down and calculate it.
Yeah, but they're calculating it on
Per
your
employees.
They're calculating it on your employee count, so that makes it tough in years like this one, where you have a new retiree or two, and next thing you know, you're paying out more than you're collecting. And I'm not sure moving at that percentage points gets you all the way to what you're paying out. It just gets you closer.
I will say that I have seen employers in the past choose to pay a set amount at the beginning of the year towards towards the end of the year, towards their unfunded liability, and then go ahead and adopt that minimum rate. That's an option that you can look at later on in the fiscal year. I definitely wouldn't look at it right now, but.
Well, the question here is, do we adopt the minimum rate? We don't really have a choice here, so we make a motion that we adopt the minimum rate.
Correct.
And we collect it. So I make a motion, we adopt the minimum rate, no more.
Do we have a second?
You have a second?
We do have a second? Was that
Yes.
you? Yeah, that's fine. All right, John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Farkas,
Yes.
Glenn Rennick,
Yes.
Bob Stoll.
Yes.
Motion passes. Minimum rate. All right, item E is a motion to approve donations of narcotic detection dog from Public Safety Officer Brandon Scruggs to the town of Kingston Springs, and
Chief Ivey's going to give some
I'm
background.
curious.
When we hired Brandon, he had already acquired the dog when he worked for the sheriff's department and was funding his own training. He paid for the dog to go through training, and he had asked at the time if we would consider, once the dog was certified, he would like to donate the dog to the town for use while he's at work. That'd give us a dog on day shift and a dog on night shift. And the only expense of the town would be the vet bills and the dog food, just dog expenses. And if he ever left or the dog couldn't work, then we would give the dog back, donate the dog back to Brandon. I do have his certifications. I mean, we've got copies of all those. It's a black lab too. He's had the dog for 2 years. Cedar Valley Canine out of Ashland City did the training, the imprint training. I've got that gentleman's name, and I think Jeremy has his information. And then he has the NNDDA certification, which is a little bit different than Nate's, but it's on the same recognition of the state. So it has.
What's that certification called again? Just out of curiosity.
NNDDA, and I have no idea what that stands for. He is certified marijuana, cocaine, heroin, and meth. And he also is a tracking dog, but he's a friendly. He's not a bite dog.
Not a biter.
He's very community-oriented dog. Brandon worked as a school resource officer when he worked for the county, and he actually would take the dog to school. It was, it's that friendly. But he's willing to do this at no cost to the town other than the expenses to keep the dog up.
The dog's name?
Colby,
That's a heck of a deal. What do we pay for the other one?
almost $20,000.
That's what I thought, 20 grand that we raised money for.
My only, what does that budget, what does the budget look like typically for our other dogs that we've had as far as on a vet
Well,
thing?
it breaks out canine expenses, and I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's, I think, around $11,000 a year. But that
Per
could
dog?
come- But no, it wouldn't be quite that much. I think that's just what we budget. But all of that can be funded from the drug fund, so it will not need any additional funds from the general fund.
And having 2 shifts, though, we might find some more and end up with more
Right,
money in the
right.
drug fund, right?
Because that gives us Nate on days and it
Right.
gives us him on evenings. I think it'd be a huge asset.
That's almost a trick question there.
So, and he's worked really hard. I mean, he's done it all on his own, no help from the sheriff's department. He went and sought this on his own and followed through and got his certifications.
So we end up with $40,000 worth of dogs instead of just 20.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Just so I understand that. I'll make a motion that we do that.
And just for clarification, it will be to accept the dog, subject to the condition that it be returned should the officer leave or the dog is retired, it will be given to the officer. But you accept those conditions of the donation.
That's what I meant to say.
Second?
First or second, do we have any discussion, comments?
I will say too, he drives an Explorer, which is like Nate's, and because we had not equipped it, we did take in consideration that we may equip it for a canine down the road. So when we equipped it, it's gonna take very minimal cost to make it equipped for the dog.
Okay, so yeah, because it has to be a special crate area back there for the dog.
So,
And Martha Brooke, will we need to write up some type of contract or any additional information other than the passage of this motion?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt just to have it in writing, I'm sure, so both sides will remember.
Yes, okay.
Years down the road, what exactly we agreed to.
Yeah, actually, you never know who's.
Right. Good, we'll work on that
Yeah,
then.
and that may also be a good thing for insurance to have as well, just to show that we're taking ownership of that.
Okay.
also, he has a maintenance trainer, so the guy originally did the training, and then he has 16 hours a month that there's a guy that does the maintenance training, and there's a software called CATS, Canine Management, and that's where all of his training is logged. So if it was ever an issue in court, we've got records of everything Brandon's done with the dog since he obtained the dog.
But he's already certified, so he's good to go.
Yeah.
Officer Covey. All right.
So you may also want to include on the motion, just what John said, that we memorialize this in writing with the officers.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the donation of the narcotic detection dog, memorializing in some sort of a contract that the terms that the dog will return to the officer upon retirement or the officer leaving his service to the city?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, on to item F, which is discussion of Tennessee Senate Bill 1805 and House Bill 1658, COVID essential employees of TCRS. And Mr. Clark, you brought this up, and also I noticed that the 19th was the date that this was. Is there any updates as far as how this
It got moved to the
legislation?
26th.
Okay.
So, yeah, of course.
I didn't actually go online and check, so I'll let you have that. So go ahead.
I just happened upon this when I was looking up Joker's Law and found this COVID-19 bill for essential employees, which I think would just be you and TC. And so people who worked, were essential employees from March 12th, 2020 to April 27th, 2021 would be eligible to receive a credit hour for each credit hour they worked that year, and it wouldn't be paid out. What it would be banked in retirement, so basically get a retirement year. You can't retire early on it, but it just banks that amount of time. And I think, Martha Brooke, that we would be subject for whatever our employee share would be. That would be our cost. So, but it just
According to the version that I last read.
Yes,
So,
yes,
with
the
that
amended
caveat,
version.
yes.
I just thought, no, it'd be something I think it's probably going to end up passing. It's already been placed, it's going to the Senate Finance Ways and Means Committee on 4/26. And if it gets signed into, law in July, I think we have a couple of years to go ahead and submit it. But if we know about it, we might as well just submit it now for those hours. I mean, in July.
Yeah, I'll just once the law's
You
passed.
can't submit it until a bill is passed, is
Right.
that correct?
It's going to take some time for us to pull the records as well to get the
Number of hours.
payroll and the hours
Yeah.
for chief and TC,
Sure.
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So we'll know
it sounds
what
like
we're-
they left a lot of time open for that.
Yes.
But yeah, the way it's currently drafted, you can either specifically get the hours, or I think it allots. You can't pull the hours, it allots it default number, I think. if I
Okay.
recall.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Very good.
Well, I mean, there's really no action to take on this. I mean, it seems like one of those things that speaking of right, but my opinion, it seems like something worth doing when we can. So, absolutely, I'm glad we.
Enhances retirement.
Yeah.
And staff will start working in the background and gathering the information that we need to proceed.
Very good. Thank you, Carol.
Hey, two other reasons, John, for that raise and the minimum amount.
Yes, sir.
They've lowered the investment return assumption from 7.25 to 6.75. So when you're sharing that with employees, that's not great news. They're gonna wonder why. And they also changed the mortality table. The one is more liberal. In other words, assuming people are gonna live longer on retirement, both of those factors whack that need. But it keeps it solvent. So that's the other key point is they're looking at this every so often to make sure there's enough money to pay the retirement owed to the city employees that decide to retire.
Right, so the coffers are not going to be empty when they want to retire.
And then there is a $200,000 difference in payout contribution this year on the document. So, those are just points that as you're communicating what's changing here, some employees are going to know, well, why am I getting beat up here? Well,
Right.
it's because the plan made those changes, and we don't have much choice.
Awesome, very good, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
All right, and then on to item G, which is discussion of small parks project at the little spot on Kingston.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, the Bermuda Triangle there on Jackson Cabin Road. Yeah, it's kind of a day. Go ahead, and then Brandy, if you have anything to throw in here too.
This is just something that came to my attention when I was at the farmer's market. I had a lot of people from the ranchettes come through and say, when can you do something about that? And I thought that'd be a good idea to do something. I knew we owned it. But it just, a few weeks ago, I was looking at it again, and I came across, I didn't know that we owned it with the intention of it being a park. And that was like,
donated with that.
yeah, and that was in 2009, so I thought, well, that'd be perfect to start just thinking about maybe putting something down there. The people from the ranchettes that I spoke with have a ton of ideas. I mean, everybody's got just little ideas. They know it can't be anything with a playground or anything that's going to involve parking or anything that's going to be a lot of trash prone or anything like that. But there was just all kinds of ideas just for a small gazebo, just more plants, just a couple of benches, just parks like that. I think the only thing out there now is a kind of dilapidated birdhouse.
What's this? Because it's been well, actually I drove past it the other day, but I wasn't really looking too closely. But it's pretty shaded there, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So I know that there is a fellow in the ranchettes there that was really interested in a community garden, but I don't know that would really, the shade may not function very well as a community
You may
garden.
get some grief about any kind of structure you put on it. So, I don't know, like a lake house with part of it's in the flood zone. We put a gazebo on it, and we were promptly told, take that thing out of here, because it's sitting in the flood zone. So, in other words, there were two houses on those lots before, they washed down the creek. So, that's why the play stuff, as we discussed back a while ago, we were going to put exercise equipment or one of those courses where you go around and do push-ups or pull-ups, or they have to be water through and permanently anchored, I think is what you were telling me.
This
This is a little.
Am I talking about a different place?
Yeah, you're thinking about.
Okay,
so
I'm lost.
that's
sorry,
down by
Carol.
the high school. This is this little.
Triangle with the
Oh,
ranchettes.
There's the ranchettes, that little spot up in the ranchettes,
Yeah, I'm with you now. One that they were gonna put a taco stand in, we didn't like that one.
I like that.
But the people in the ranchettes are the ones that I spoke with, just had a ton of ideas, and I think it'd be fun just to get this on our map, since it's been 13 years since it was donated.
Yeah.
And just let the people in the ranchettes maybe come up with an idea, and I think a lot of them would volunteer to come help with that if they know. I think there's like a little pull-off spot where you can maybe fit 3 cars parking, but I think everybody's resigned to the fact that, no, it's not gonna be a big bustling park or anything like that. It's just gonna be something aesthetically pleasing and maybe a place where people could go.
Where is that again? Is that where the?
Jackson County.
It's like Kingston says, like here's Kingston Springs Road. So if you drive, well, if you're driving out towards Debbie's house,
Yeah,
and you go down here, it's that little spot. So you turn down here, and it's that little. We have that little tiny.
That little like traffic island kind of looking?
Yeah.
It's 0.9 acres.
Is that in the city?
Well, it's not in the
Donated
city,
to-
but it's owned by the
It's
city.
one of our parks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's officially called
but it
Jackson's
isn't.
Rest.
I'm getting on the right page. I was thinking you were talking about the triangle that's right up here off of.
That is actually
Cemetery Road. I know that's owned by.
privately owned.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Never wanted to put a taco stand
The birdhouse is Gary Corley.
Yes, he built it.
He built it.
No,
It's
it's
pretty
a
rotten.
Purple Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on its third or second.
Because he's
line.
taken it down and fixed it, I
Yeah.
think, and I
A
remember
few
it's
times.
not that
Yeah.
long ago being in his,
Yeah.
well, a few years ago now, I guess.
Picnic table.
Yeah, I mean, there could be any number of things. I mean, sitting there, a lot of people in that area walk and run.
So
Just
as
a
an
high
idea,
traffic
somebody
area.
wanted kind of a little track around it,
Yeah.
but that's what it is, I
Or a
think.
place you could stop after a nice long run and sit down for a second. No, I think it's something to be on the radar for sure.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind if I, at the park this year, excuse me, at the farmer's market this year, can kind of solicit more opinions from people and ranchettes, so.
Good.
I don't think it would take much of a budget to do that.
Yeah, or
I bet you,
now we can accept $500 donations too.
Yeah.
We could probably fundraise some money to do that, something
I
there too.
think they would, I think they would.
I bet folks that live down there might be most interested in doing that too, so. Yeah. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add to that? All right, we move on to surplus items. We have a Epson printer to trade in for credit on a new printer. That's a rare occurrence.
I know Staples gave me $50 or $100 towards a new printer if we turned in the old one, so,
Yeah, it's not too bad.
yeah, because it was old.
And then a obsolete, police and fire department obsolete equipment to sell on Gov Deals and or discard. There's a list of that.
I'm good with that.
Motion to surplus.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Is there anything else for discussion anyone want to say? Are we in a good spot? All right.
Gordon Lampley?
Oh, that would be something, yeah, and I meant to, Gordon Lampley was one of our fellow commissioners. A few of us on this board served with, actually, Glenn, Bob, and I served with Gordon. He passed away, what was it, about
About a month.
about a month ago. He had a kind of long struggle with cancer, I think, but Gordon was a good fellow, so it's sad to hear. Thanks for remembering that, Glenn. All right, and then the reminders are, we have Saturday on the 23rd down at the park, a opportunity to meet with our codes officials, and I believe Judge Maxey will also be in attendance to answer questions and talk about kind of the legal ins and outs and different types of property maintenance issues. The budget workshop for all of us sitting at this table is coming up on May 2nd, community yard sale May 14th. And then the farmer's market kicks off on the 21st, and then the next day we will have a celebration for our beloved Debbie Finch.
And it's Sunday, May.
Yeah, that's a typo on
Yeah,
my.
there's-
What time is that?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, thank you.
And will there be mailed out invitations,
Yes,
I assume?
starting next week.
Okay. Remember Representative Littleton
Yes.
on the list? She's going to be presenting something for her soon. Just to make
It's on
sure.
Facebook too already, so
Yeah.
that's good.
And then the splash pad dedication ceremony will be on Tuesday, May 24th. So, all right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.